So last weekend I had my first experience with live guest painting. And if you're thinking about it, hopefully this video gives you a better idea of what it's like when you're there at the wedding, how that goes, what you need to deal with, and you can decide if that's something that you want to offer as well. Overall, the experience went really well. I am happy with the amount of paintings I was able to do and just the overall experience that the guests had. I feel like things went well. There's just a lot that I think I could do better next time. So I'm going to share what worked and what didn't. And as you figure out how you want your process to go with live guest painting, hopefully you can take some of this and see what works for you too. There really aren't that many artists who do this, so I feel like learning from each other is so important. I've been doing live wedding painting and children's book illustration and other kinds of illustration for a long time. I was getting so many questions about live guest portraits, and I feel like it's becoming more and more popular, maybe even more so than live wedding painting. I was hesitant to add live guest portraits as an option, but I'm really glad I did. The reason that I hadn't added the option to do live guest portraits is because I feel like it's a different style than the live wedding painting. I wanted people to be able to see consistency, and also because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to paint so many guests in such a short amount of time. But I let go of those things because this is something that I did want to try, and I feel like it can work well for me. So I'm so glad I gave it a try. All right, so let's get to my first experience. I was really nervous going in because I know that with live guest painting, both quality and quantity matter a lot. And so I was really stressed, like I said, about getting so many portraits done. And as I was going, I realized that wasn't such a big factor to be worried about because the guests can respect that you're not a machine, and they know that it's going to take some time. Your hands can only move so fast. So they weren't even really expecting to get it that night. They were just excited. They didn't pay for this because the wedding couple did. So they were just excited to be able to get their own little portrait, and they didn't have to pay for it. So while of course next time I will still try to get as many done as possible, I feel like I can relax a little bit knowing that people aren't expecting me to be able to paint every single portrait during the wedding. This wedding had over 100 guests, and I was there for 3 hours. So I knew for sure that I was not going to be able to get them all done, but I still put a lot of pressure on myself to do so many. So I think something I could do next time is to get a VIP list from the couple before I go so that I know which guests they really, really want to get a portrait. That way, as I'm taking pictures, the order that I paint in can go based on who they want to make sure gets one. I was so worried about speed. I barely took breaks to just drink a glass of water, like a sip of water really. And my hands were just going. I barely talked to anyone. My assistant did. She was great with everybody, but every time I looked up, it was like, oh, hi, I'm at a wedding. I was just like staring at my page, just painting away, just nonstop. And at the end of the night, I was totally exhausted. And then afterwards, I counted up how many I had done during those 3 hours, and it came out to about 4 minutes per guest, which is way faster than I thought I could go. I was planning on 6 minutes, 7 minutes maybe. And so it was a lot faster than I told anybody I could go, and faster than I expected of myself. And anyway, I was relieved to know that speed is not a problem. I can paint people quickly, but at the same time, next time I can take a breather, I can look up, I can talk to people, I can maybe take a second to, add some little details or some shading, and I don't need to worry so much about just nonstop painting. I want to get a lot done, but yes, it's okay to breathe too. But the painting's the most important part, obviously, of the live guest painting. So I was glad that that was one thing that did go really well, was how many I could do, and that they did turn out well. I was worried I would have to start over, or that I would make mistakes and have to fix things and it would take too long, but really, in the moment, you're just making decisions quick, and everything turned out fine. The paintings turned out great. I was happy with them. Also, people know that you're doing this quickly, so they're not expecting a masterpiece in their little painting that they get. They're just excited to have it. I'll go through the process that I had. So I just had a table set up outside, and the guests could come on over, and then my assistant would take a picture of them on her phone and airdrop it to my iPad, which I had sitting on a stand. And then I made it really easy because I could just see it on my iPad, paint the picture, let those pictures dry, and then she would package them in the cellophane and hang them up for the guests to come back. And speaking of assistants, definitely get an assistant. I don't know how anybody does it without one. I just had my sister-in-law come and help, and I was so grateful that I did because she was going nonstop the whole time, talking to guests, taking pictures, explaining the process, and packaging my paintings, hanging them up. She didn't take any breaks either. So I don't know how I would have done it if it was just me. Something I will do better next time is my signage. So I had a sign that said guest portrait painting, so they knew what my table was. And then I had another sign that said waitlist open and waitlist closed. And I wish I had had another sign that said only one portrait per guest, and mainly that. Or maybe some instructions that say take a picture, leave your name and address, one portrait per guest. I think I'll make a sign just with a little bit more clear instructions so my assistant doesn't have to explain it again and again to everybody. And also because there were some guests that kept hopping in more and more portraits, and I feel like that's just, we're already doing enough. We don't need to paint people multiple times. So the whole process of keeping track of the portraits, I definitely could have done better. My plan was to have them write initials on a little card, and then I would take a picture of them, just their picture, and then take a picture of them with the card so that I could match it up to them. And then I would write the initials on the corner of their portrait so they could find it after. But we ended up using sticky notes. So my pictures were wrapped in cellophane, and then we just put the sticky note right on. So it didn't need to be initials. They could write their full name and even their address, and that would have been just fine. But for some reason we stuck with initials. So afterwards I'm trying to like match up people's names with their initials, and it was not the best. It just caused a lot more work for me after the fact. So, but the bride and groom were brilliant. Actually, I think it was the bride's mom, and she provided some padded envelopes for people to write their addresses on. And I didn't start doing this until about halfway through the night, but I wish I had started sooner so people could just write their name and address, take a picture with their envelope instead of their little initial card, and then I could just match it up. And it takes so much pressure off of trying to get everything done and to the right people, because regardless of what happens, I can just put it in the mail after the wedding and it will get to the right people. So that's what I'll be doing next time, is just bringing envelopes and having them write their address right then and there. And also then I don't even have to address envelopes afterwards. It just saves me time and a lot of confusion, and I just think that's a great process. So that's something I'm going to stick with. If you have better ideas for how to do it, I know some people take names or just like number 1 through 50 or whatever. If you have a better process, let me know, because I feel like that was the biggest thing, was trying to figure out just how to keep track of whose portrait is whose and how to get it to them, even if they don't come back for it. So I think next time I'll also bring a standing easel. I know the portraits are so small, so I got to find something that works for a small portrait, but I was so sore from sitting the whole time, and I think that would help a lot, just having the option at least to sit or stand. So I'm gonna find something that works for that. Maybe even just like a tall stool or table would work. I brought my lamp with me with an external battery that keeps it charged for hours and hours. That was definitely when I was glad that I brought that, and I use it for everything. It's my canvas lamp, if you've heard of that. I'm using it right now to film this video, or I would show it to you, but I feel like that was perfect because it just shines the light right down, and I could even take videos as I was going because my phone can sit right in it. And then I didn't even need to be by an outlet, which was great because we were put outside, so I wouldn't have had a way to plug a lamp in. So if you are able to get a big external battery, go for it. It would save you a lot of stress. As I was painting, I also decided that I'm going to start giving 2 options for payment, so people can either pay by the hour, and whatever I finish in that time frame is what I finish, and I'm not doing any more after. And they can give like a VIP list of people they want painted, but I'm not going to do any more than I can do in that amount of time. Or they can pay per guest, which is basically the same rate as the per hour, but that way they can tell me ahead of time how many they want done, and takes the stress off, and whatever I don't finish, I know I've been paid for and I can finish those later. And there might be a situation where they choose the pay per hour option and then they want more done after, and if they do that, they can just do the pay per guest rate, and same thing. Okay, I hope this video was helpful. If you are about to start live guest portraits, and definitely try it. I think it's worth a try. It was a little chaotic my first time, but overall it went well, and I'm super glad I did it. And I think with those small changes, I think it's going to make a big difference for next time. And I will have to let you know how that goes because I have one coming up next week. All right, I know live guest portraits are getting more and more popular. I keep getting asked about them, so I'm glad that I gave it a try. And I hope that if you're thinking about it, that this video helps you know if that's something that you want to try as well. And I hope this helps you avoid some of the hiccups that I had. And overall, I'm happy with how it went, and you're gonna do great. Have confidence, you got this. Let me know if you have any more questions, and if this video was helpful, please subscribe, hit the like button. Any support you can give is super helpful to me so I can keep on making these. I feel like there really aren't enough resources for live wedding painters, and so I just want to be able to add my thoughts and hopefully help somebody else. If you want to know all the materials that I use, watch this video and I'll go through those